Content doesn't take care of itself. Every blog post, web page, podcast, or social media post adds complexity to your business. And without governance, you waste time, duplicate efforts, and can deliver poor, inconsistent customer experiences. In fact, governance is one of the most overlooked parts of content marketing. Most content problems aren't content problems at all, they're governance problems. And many businesses invest very heavily in content creation and very little in content governance. So let's fix that. In this video, we're going to look at the 6 components of content governance that every growing business should know about in order to properly manage its content. Welcome to the channel. My name is Michelle, and I coach small, medium businesses, entrepreneurs, and aspiring marketers to master marketing one sprint at a time. Now, content strategy is composed of 3 main stages: creation, distribution, and governance. And governance is the part that most businesses totally ignore and overlook. Governance, in fact, may be the least sexy part of content marketing. Christina Halverson, in her book, Content Strategy for the Web, describes the content lifecycle. The content lifecycle is comprised of a collaboration of processes, activities, systems, policy, technology, and data. Now, importantly, the content lifecycle starts with setting context, organizing your information, and setting your governance, your policy, and your standards. And this is where content governance plays a key role. So, what is content governance? Content governance is a discipline that focuses on establishing clear accountability for content strategy, policy, and standards. Simply, content governance is a way to manage content-related decisions. Now, there are 6 elements or components that are built into a content governance framework. And we're going to look at each of these in a little bit of detail. Those 6 components include strategy, policy, standards, guidelines, processes, and human resources. First, strategy. That's the plan about how you're going to go about achieving your short-term objectives and long-term goals using content. Content strategy, again, includes creation, distribution, and governance. We actually addressed some of the key focus areas of content strategy in an earlier video on the series. So I'd ask you to check that video out and subscribe, because we're going to be covering a lot more of tips, techniques, and best practices around content marketing on the channel. Another component of content governance is policy. You want to set clear written policies in order to mitigate risk. These include legal and compliance-related constraints and parameters. Let's look at some examples of different aspects of policies you'd want to confirm. For instance, it's best to have policies related to copyright, intellectual property, localization and language, accessibility, as well as data, privacy, and security, among others. Another component of content governance is standards. You want to write clear standards so that you can reduce conflicts, improve consistency, and improve your customer experience. For example, brand standards should be considered, those related to color, type fonts, typography, or images. You also want to consider editorial standards, infrastructure, data, and security or information access standards, among others. Another component of content governance is guidelines, and those define your best practices around content creation. So here you really want to align your brand identity standards. Think about your brand style guides, the color palettes, your identity, your archetype or personality, your brand tone and voice as well. Now, these should be communicated and enforced using a brand style guide and workflow processes. And that brings us to the next aspect of governance, which is processes. You want to define and institute efficient, effective workflow processes to manage the creation, distribution of your content. So, what is the process for requesting new content, for creating, editing, approving, and publishing the content, as well as your processes for archiving the content? What tools will you use to do that? And what is the workflow or processes for requesting, creating, producing, approving, and publishing, and even archiving your content? So it also matters what happens after your content is published. The final component of content governance is human resources. Who is going to manage all of this content? Who is on your digital content team? So you'd want to assign roles to a core content team, but also you want to assign roles and responsibility to an extended content team. That might be subject matter executives. You also likely might put together some working groups or committees that have impact and influence around your content decision making. Now, it's best to document and share the right roles and responsibilities across your core, distributed, and extended teams. You might want to lay that out in like a spreadsheet format or a document format. If you do that effectively, then everybody knows their part they need to play and who to rely on for the other components. If you were to put that into a documented framework, it might look something like this. Now, putting these 6 components of content governance together hopefully gives you a good idea of the type of impact and improvement you can have around your content performance. And that really matters because you put a lot of love, time, and attention into your content. You want to make sure that that returns value to the business. And ultimately, content governance is going to better support your brand experience and your customer experiences. So you definitely want to build a content governance framework, again, including these 6 components: strategy, policy, standards, guidelines, processes, and human resources. Content governance might not be the most exciting part of content marketing, but is the most fundamental part that will ensure that your content will perform for your business over time. Without it, content is messy, quality slips, you miss deadlines, and you just result in poor customer experiences. With governance, your content becomes something that you can manage and scale and help support your customer experiences more positively. Good content governance also builds customer trust. Now, if there's only one takeaway you take from this video, it's that content needs care. And content governance allows you to properly manage your content and make the right content related decisions. Content governance is how you make sure all of that happens. Thank you for watching through to the end of the video. I hope you found it helpful. Maybe share in the comments which of these 6 content governance elements you might struggle with. And I'd really like to ask you to subscribe to the channel, keep in touch, because we're going to continue on the content series where you'll learn very many more content best practices, tips, and know-how. Thank you so much for watching, and peace to you.